What is going on, Governor? It's Chisgule here, and today we're going to talk about our experience assaulting the pass, level 4 pass, and the mad dash that ensued into the open field in the next zone. This was an incredibly intense window, and we got a lot to talk about here. We're going to talk about the strategy. We're going to talk about what worked. We're going to talk about a lot that didn't work. And it's so easy to point this stuff out in hindsight. If you like Rise of Kingdoms strategy videos, in particular, where we break down what went right and wrong in the Lost Kingdom, and there's going to be a lot more wrong than right in this particular video, then you should definitely like and subscribe because we are a sponsored creator in Rise of Kingdoms. So, my friends, what you are watching is the moments leading up to the pass being assaultable. And there's a mechanic here that I really think could use a lot of refinement, which is the timing around which this pass opens. Now, for us, this was about 6:40 UTC, which, depending on your part of the world, that's either amazing or terrible. If you're in the United States on the East Coast, that's about 3 in the morning that the pass opened up. If you're on the West Coast, that's a little more reasonable, but you're not going to stay up very late. And if you're on the other side of the world, it might be like 3 in the afternoon, which is really an exceptional time in the grand scheme of things. So I would argue that the timing of this pass opening is pretty tricky, given that the majority of our members are in the United States. It was really, really late. I honestly can't believe that we had as many members online as we did, but we did. And you can see here that we've actually set up the flags so that we've got Legion on the left, DFH on the right. We intend to double rally this pass. Now, that turned out to be completely unnecessary, and we ran into some problems when we attempted to do that. There's the rally. We used Mina Tsao for this activity. Rally filled up like that, which is what I would expect. We had a whole bunch of folks teleport over to be in position. You can see one city burning. We tried to make space for other cities to be in this area because we had a rule that farms weren't supposed to be in the zone because our Lost Kingdom zone was so crowded, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. That player's burning, kind of irrelevant. So, we've got this rally set up, and our strategy going into this zone, in hindsight, could have been a lot better. We focused on putting forts up in front of the passes and having multiple alliances do that. We encountered a number of problems along the way, and frankly, I don't know what the rush is to put a fort in front of the pass, because our battles in the next zone were so bloody and so insane and so, I mean, I don't know, how many deaths do you think it was if you're in this continent? How many troops do you think died over the course of the last week? 20 million? 30 million? 50 million? I don't know what the number is, but it's incredibly high. Maybe north of 50 million. And so by the time the passes became relevant, sides were so beaten and battered that, I don't know. We'll show this in later videos, what sort of ultimately unfolds. But my argument will be that by the time the pass for the next zone, the pass level 5, becomes relevant, one side or another will have emerged as a victor, unless sides are playing cautious, and that is not what happened with Kingdom 52, 51, and 50. No, in fact, we received word in advance, and, it's all but war declared on our kingdom from both 50 and 52. So our expectation going into this was that it was going to be 2-on-1. Now, you can see we attempt to double rally the pass, but a player who's enthusiastic also hit the pass, and it turns out there's only room for 3 armies to be hitting the pass at the time, which means you're going to see the DFH rally running around, floundering back and forth, unable to actually find the pass to hit it. Very strange. There's the rally coming in now, and you'll see it's just going to like get stuck. It's not going to be able to figure out how to actually attack the pass. This would have been problematic if someone built a fort in the place that we wanted to build a fort. This is why we thought building forts was so important, is that we thought a fort is going to be infinitely defensible and nobody's going to be able to take down a fort. And so you got to get your fort first in front of these critical objectives because nobody's taking down forts. Of course, the reality is that one side or another is going to lose so many troops that they are not going to want to fight anymore. And when that happens, it's not going to matter if you have a fort or a flag. It's going down. So this rally should have been exceptional to have the double rally. It didn't hit that way. It didn't matter. It wasn't needed. We've got a ton of T5 here that we were filling the rally with. Boom, there it is. We're off to the races, and this is the moment where, boom, Fleisch pops down a fort, and the other leaders, boom, pop down a fort, except there was a problem. Now, you see, an alliance like DFH, who was sharing the pass with us, we thought that by putting them in our alliance, then they could run through the pass, then swap back to DFH, they could build the fort, but that was not the case. That was not the case. I believe they had to have a city in the next zone in order to actually build a structure. So what we had to do was get all our troops through. And this is now 3 in the morning for the majority of our members. We're trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Why is it that they can't build and like blah, blah, blah. So we had to have them go through the gate, swap back to their alliance, then boom, capture the pass, which we could only do after all our troops got through, and then build a flag, and then they could build the fort that they wanted to build. Now, you can see here, OV built the fort over in that direction. Now, let me tell you, I underestimated the number of flags we could build. I left strategy entirely out of my hands. Not thinking about strategy. I had a million other things to do and organize. So we had folks focused on strategy. I focused on other stuff. But what I did not realize in the strategy is that you've got like 30 to 40 flags you can build if you've been saving up crystals. 30 to 40 flags is a lot of flags, especially if you pop the flag building buff, because in that case, you pop that flag building buff, you can build flags like a freight train. Boom, 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 right down the map, and you can hit these forts. A fort is foolish. That's right. My opinion of forts is that they are foolish unless you build flags immediately toward the fort to support it. And that is because in the Lost Kingdom, you can't teleport wherever you want. You got to teleport onto Alliance territory. And if you don't have territory, you can't build this fort without risk of somebody building flags toward it. Now, we went over the mountain and started building some flags too. This would have been really, really cool. In hindsight, we had so many troops that we were at 2 passes. We could have easily split and captured both passes with the number of people that we had online, which is kind of a miracle given the timing for our alliance. But anyways, we didn't. We went over the mountain to build those flags. Now, you're going to see there's forts in different places. What we should have been doing with our flags is the second you see a fort pop up, you start the freight train. You pop the flag building buff, and you go boom, 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 marching down the map until you make contact with the fort, and then you rally it. And if your enemy doesn't know to do that, or they haven't done it, or they haven't prioritized it, or they're distracted, then they're just dead. Your rally will beat down that fort because you only have to beat a building once when it's being built, and that's it. GG. Game over. Game over. So, what you're watching here is instead of going that route, the strategy we take at this point, and the strategy will change, is we think if we get our troops there fast enough, we can cut off the troops going in to build it, and we can delay it for long enough for something meaningful to happen. I don't know what that meaningful thing is. I guess it was for VYG's fort to finish first, and then they build flags over, or one of our other allies builds fort and flags over. I don't know. It didn't work. We thought it made sense at the time, and you'll see this fall apart almost immediately when we arrive. We just can't get there fast enough. And we certainly, you can see where Legion placed its fort, Rend placed their fort, Go placed their fort. The Go fort, boom! We should have been on the flag train to that Go fort. Oh my gosh, what a mistake that we did not destroy that fort at the start. And here's why. You can see that we're closer to the fort than they are. We could have got there way faster than they could have, and we could have destroyed the fort. Boom! No problem. We didn't do it. Big, 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 big mistake. Big mistake. Didn't know it at the time. It's 3 a.m. Hard to adjust a strategy on the fly when you're basically dazed and confused. I made the mistake of trying to get some sleep before coming online to do this. What a profound error. Like, huge error. I was like out of it the whole time. There we go. We pop our flag building. Now, we use our flag building to go to our fort, which was in the middle of nowhere by a pass, which is a thing that we didn't need and gave us no actual value. Made sense that we should ensure that we have. It made sense before KVK, before the pass opened, that we should try to have that land so we are guaranteed to get to the next zone. Little did we realize that there would be so much battling and there'd be so many deaths that that isn't what was going to matter. The winner or loser would be decided way, 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 way before that became relevant. So, we are rushing our way down with multiple armies now. We've got 4 going. 3 are fast, 1 is slow, and you're going to see in this video the reason why I really, 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 really value move speed a lot, because I'm going to get caught out of position with my Barca, and it's just dead. It's just dead. I'm going to get a bunch of damage in before I go down, but you'll see the movement speed is super relevant for the style of operation that we're doing here, certainly. So, we are now arriving at the OV fort. We see there are people still coming to the OV fort. We think that by hitting them, we can slow their build in a meaningful amount. This is just false. It's not going to work. But we are going to have first blood in KVK by the OV Alliance Fortress, unless that happened up by End, and I don't know because I wasn't watching there. Maybe they had first blood. Close enough. The action is happening now. The 3 armies that I'm using to go really, really speedy, by the way, we've got Minatao, we've got Richard and Martel with Martel expertise. 20% movement speed boost is really, really key. And we've got Yi Song-Ye with El Cid. El Cid is something like 5-5-3-1 or 2 at the time of this recording. I think 5-5-3-2. So not max movement speed, but decent little boost to get down the field. And now you can see the craziness around the fort, all completely irrelevant because OV is now building their flags. Now OV is building their flags to cut off our ability to support LN2. That LN2 fort, terrible, terrible, terrible position. It was never going to work. In hindsight, easy to see. Pre-planning, I didn't see it. But the reason is that it's really quite incredible how short the distance is between Kingdom 52 and the pass. Really, between the Middle Kingdoms and level 5 passes. Like, it's uncanny how few flags they need to get there. It's basically all but guaranteed that they can kind of get that pass, assuming that they're still in it at all and aren't pushed all the way back to their starting zone. Which is the case for us right now. And, even if we were in a Middle Kingdom, right, like, we'd only need maybe 10 flags of distance to get to that pass, whereas now we need, like, I don't know, 25 or so flags to get there. I mean, it's like a pretty big ask for us to get to the next zone. Anyways, open field combat, craziness. We're trying to cut people off from getting to the OV fortress. We're battling, and at some point along the way here, we realize how this is not actually going to matter. Also, the other thing is that It's really silly that they let you attack allies. Some number of folks, I think, were accidentally attacking allies. We see Faceless is showing up. We see VYG is showing up. They're trying to help in this operation. Of course, this operation was kind of not amazing. The thing that everybody else needed to be doing is building flags toward the forts that they were building, since they were building forts. I really don't think the fort game is what this zone is about. I don't think this zone is about the fort game. This zone is all about the flag game. And it's all about playing it cool until somebody pops that flag building speed buff and you see where they're going. And once you see where they're going, boom, then you react in a way that they can't actually handle. And the only reason perhaps you should pop your flag building buff is if you're thinking that you're in a position where they can't respond fast enough to what you'll do. It's like a game of chicken. Now, I want to point out that fort building and fort location is really key. What should you be thinking about when you build a fort? When you build a fort, the thing you're trying to do is maximize the surface area under which you can put cities, under which you can claim territory. And in this case, this L2 fort is built in a way that minimizes the amount of usable land. But it turns out it's not going to matter. You'll see why it's not going to matter, because the fort's not going to finish. OV's building their flags, and at first it looks like they're trying to sort of like cut off our ability to get down there, which is fine. They could have just gone right for the fort. It honestly, like, the fort's dead. The fort is dead. There's no way to support a fort out there. Here's why. You can only have one army in the fort at a time. What OV is going to do in this position is they're going to go over, they're going to build their flags, they're going to port their cities, and they're going to clean up our armies. And then those armies have a 20-minute walk back to the starting zone. So they're going to go all the way back to the starting zone, and it's just like, come on. This is not a thing that's actually going to work. We can't actually support this effectively. So the thought was, well, even if this just works as a distraction, that's a good thing. But I honestly don't know what we were distracting them from. Like, what are we distracting them from? I don't know. Going somewhere else that was more important? And I suppose we did end up distracting them from going to their own fort, which left their own fort vulnerable, which is a thing that we'll perhaps see in the next video. We've got something like 80 to 100 gigabytes of footage, so you'll definitely have an opportunity to see that in upcoming videos. For now, we've got troops moving around the open field. We're making our way down toward that L2 fort, and at some point, I'm going to sort of zoom out, and you'll see that there's multiple forts that pop up on the upper left portion of the map. The thing that I think we should have been doing is fort hunting. I really think we should have taken down those forts because we were building flags super fast, and other folks were not. I mean, that is a dangerous weapon, that buff that lets you build those flags super fast, especially because this early on, the requirements for building flags are so incredibly low in the Lost Kingdom. It's so incredibly low. Now you can see, look how long it's taken. This video, by the way, is 2x speed. Right? So this video is going to be half an hour long, but it's actually just the first hour of this pass opening up, which is kind of incredible that we have this much footage. This is just the first hour of the madness. Look how long it takes to just get down there. Like, it's obvious how impossible it is to support this fort build. It's just so obvious from this perspective how impossible it will be to support this fort build. Now, I'll point out up at the top, we got a bunch of buffs running. We've got an attack buff. We've got an army expansion. We've got a rune as well. We've got Crusader Fort buffs. You can see we've already picked up a cool 42k in the hospital. That's going to go way up in the next probably 5 minutes of this video. Because here, what do we got? This, I think, Is this where my army gets caught out of position, or am I battling somebody willingly? Well, I'm battling somebody willingly here. Okay, yeah. Here I'm doing some bullying with some T5s. I had a lot of training speed ups saved up for a mighty governor that I didn't have an opportunity to use, which was really frustrating. But now, now we're making our way back down, and you're going to see like OV cities are going to be porting in. You can't go through a gauntlet of enemy cities, right? Like you've seen in my videos where I plant my city in a strategic location and I just snipe the heck out of people that are walking by, like boom, 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 sniping anyone that cruises through. Like that's the position that they're setting themselves up for, is the ability to snipe everything. Now I say, hey, we got to get here, ignore the fort. Gosh, if it wasn't 3 a.m., maybe I would have realized just how absurd of a task this was going to be to defend this fort. It is an impossibility. We should have just completely abandoned it and focused our attention on other things, like, say, taking the Go fort off to the left that I was mentioning earlier. That would have been like 8 flags tops, which with the building buff, we would have been rallying that fort in like 20 minutes. I mean, like, our KVK would have been so different with the right strategy, but hard to know what that strategy should have been. So we're cruising around. Um, we're now just trying to run around. You can see here, my armies are getting weak because we're on the opposite side of the map, and there's not a lot we can do from this position. Once the army gets weak, it's going to get obliterated with armies that can be instantly refreshed. Here I am encouraging us to join L2. I don't think that's the right play anymore. We had a lot of trouble with the pass going back and forth between Legion and DFH, just because that was like a tricky operation to coordinate. Yeah. This this could have been a different start. Could have been a different start. You can see, look how slow Barca is. Lagging behind. Lagging behind. Our other armies doing some battling opportunistically. We're swapping players back and forth between alliances because of the whole thing with needing to swap in members of DFH. We had to like kick out a dozen or more members of Legion that were offline to make room for people to get into Legion. It's just a mess. If you had any preconception of what your alliance was and who the members are, just obliterate your understanding of having an alliance with members. Just forget that identity because it doesn't matter anymore. Everybody's swapping between alliances and they have to, and if you don't, like, you're just dead. Just forget it. Just forget it. You can see here my my weak army. I guess I'm just going to run it to get suicided because there's just no point for it to be on the field anymore. Right now, it looks like we're hanging out with Streegis. Streegis in Legion on his way to support LN2. We're doing some battling in the open field. My archer army getting kind of weak. Doesn't matter that we're ganging up on an army because, like, the attrition is going to be real, and eventually they're just going to be able to clear us out from around that L2 fort. It's inevitable. It is inevitable. And you can see here we're making our way over to try to support that. Okay. I can't wait to show my Barca getting completely caught out. Here we go send our Mina Tao to go suicide. I think we have some T5s in there, though, so it ends up not being a suicide. Yeah. Smart moves, dodging through the terrain. If you didn't catch that move, you can ditch an opponent really easily by jumping into a resource tile. It's kind of weird. It's kind of cheesy, but it's the way the game works, so you should do it. You should do it. Here we catch another army. Ba-boom. They're going to use that technique. It's kind of weird. It's kind of cheesy, but it's just correct to do. And they're on their way. They're on their way. Here has got to be the point where we get caught out of position with our Hannibal Barca because he's so damn slow. And the flags have now made their way across the map. So the cities are porting in onto that alliance territory. We're now up to 87,000 in the hospital, which, like, again, this number's low compared to where it's going to be because we've got Barca. Now he's going to make his way over. I guess we stopped because we had targeted a resource node. I have subsequently learned better ways to command the troops, whatever. Um, One way you could do that is by sort of going to where you want on the map, then tap and hold, and then drag it over. By the way, you can see we do build our way to one fort that we're going to rally. And so that, I think, goes particularly well. I just wish we'd realized and been paying more attention. We were so worried about our own fort getting rallied that we went down to defend it, and it turns out the fort didn't matter. Here's the moment I called out a long time ago, and now it actually happens. We're caught out of position with Barca. We can't outrun them. We're not getting skill attacks, so we turn and fight. We turn and fight, and our army's just going to get melted down because it's now 4 armies on 1. And yeah, we had to use simplify graphics because this was insane. Now it's 5 armies on 1. Now it's 6 armies on 1. I mean, we're doing some work, but when we're getting value from our AoE, we're getting some value. There's the AoE, I think. Why is it not hitting a lot of people? Maybe it is, I just can't see. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We're we took out one army, they took out us, and now we've probably got over 130,000 in the hospital, and this army basically accomplished nothing in its time in the open field. Our other armies are getting kind of weak. We're trying to cut people off from getting to the flag, but like realistically, you just can't accumulate enough troops to pull this off. Especially because we had to move all the way down to the bottom part of the map to go and do this. It just was never going to work. This was never going to work. It was kind of a big distraction from the thing that I think we ought to have done, which I know I've mentioned this a lot of times, which was to make our way over to that go fort and to rally it too. Hindsight's 2020. Hindsight's 2020 on that. I keep marking the latest flag that they're building, but you can see like how machine gun it is with that buff that enables your flag building to go super, super fast. So there it is, another city porting in, being able to cut us off. We're now up to 158,000 in the hospital. Nice little hospital bill. We're healing in small chunks because the Alliance helps. We'll heal in full. I abandoned that idea pretty rapidly coming up because the hospital fills up, fills up, fills up, and you just need to spend speed ups, and it becomes the reality that got to spend some speed ups to make any sort of meaningful progress. Like, I just don't have the patience to heal down 2,000 troops at a time over 100 times over the course of what will happen just before these troops get home. So you can see we're hitting with these small armies. I'll point out that something I really like about Richard and Martel in the open field is like, look how high health they are. I mean, they just last forever. And that's because of the healing and the shielding with that combination. It's really quite remarkable with the move speed and the healing and the shielding. The only problem is like they don't actually do any damage. They don't actually do meaningful damage. So like, yeah, they're in the field. Yeah, they're annoying. Yeah, I guess they have a debuff. But while they're nice in the open field and that they have sustain, they're not actually getting a lot done. They're not actually getting a lot done. Now, in this case, the second I hit, boom, Expertise Richard pops a 50% slow, which is kind of relevant, but only kind of for stopping these armies from getting into the flag, because we just are never going to stop these flags from building. We're just never going to get the critical mass. It's also funny to look at my resource counts. 150 million gold. Ha. I remember the times. I remember the times when I had that much gold laying around. And then I had Mighty Governor training and did a bunch of T5s. And suddenly, all the gold I'd been farming this entire time became super, super relevant. There's the rewards for having taken the pass. I know those flashed on the screen really, really briefly, but you can also see them in the description of the pass anytime. Yeah. We're looking at this thing. We're maybe going to defend it. We get a peek at our Isong Ye talents. Subsequently, we leveled them up to 60 by using experience tomes. Just snap that off. I think we could actually, if we had the stars, take 2 commanders that are legendary from 0 to 60. We have that much experience saved up. Turns out farming Guardians for hours and hours and hours, for days and days and days, and months and months and months, lets you accumulate a lot of experience on a lot of commanders. And you can save up your experience gems, which is pretty sweet. One thing we tried to do here is block where they could build their flag. This is another thing that's just like never going to work. The only way you might be able to pull this off is if you could port your city and then drop down a bunch of lohars, but we can't port our city because we're not here. We don't have flags. Lost Kingdom doesn't work that way. And you can see all it takes is one player to run around on the field, even just to cause other people to reposition themselves. And for a moment, a hole is going to open up and a flag will get thrown down, and that's that. That is that. So we've got now more open field battling. And did we freeze? Ah, that's the end of this portion of the video. We've got so much more, a ton of footage to follow. Um, we're going to cut it here. I don't know why I paused the video here when I was recording. Probably because it became such a darn long video. You're going to see what happens next over the course of the next week or two. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk about the very best commanders to assault and defend flags. We're going to break down the very best builds. We're going to show a whole heck of a lot of awesome stuff. If you like KVK, you should definitely like and subscribe because we've got a ton of footage of our experience with that. And until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.